No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve Postgame Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
On a night where the Winnipeg Jets were doing battle against one of the best teams in the NHL and a top team in the Eastern Conference, the matchup was going to be difficult. The challenge ahead of them was going to be mighty, and the Winnipeg Jets stepped up to that challenge and delivered what I would describe as probably one of, if not the most impressive victory that they have had in this disappointing season, defeating the Tampa Bay Lightning on home ice by a 4-1 margin tonight in downtown Winnipeg. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this evening on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show with Dave Manouk, with Ezra Ginsburg. I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss tonight's contest as Dave Manouk basks in the glory of almost being 100% correct with his pre-game prediction.
It's pretty impressive.
Once and for all, of course, that a blind squirrel can even collect a nut every now and then. Gentlemen, good to see you both on this Thursday evening. Really, a thoroughly impressive victory by the Winnipeg Jets tonight. I don't think any of us, Dave M. notwithstanding, any of us saw it coming in the manner in which the Winnipeg Jets delivered tonight in front of the hometown crowd.
Yeah, boys, 4 of your top 6 defensemen out of the lineup versus one of the best teams in the NHL. No problem. 4-1 victory, right? Like,
yeah,
absolutely.
Can't predict puck.
Exactly. And, you know, we mentioned on last post-game show, the Lightning have been struggling. The Lightning have been giving up a lot of goals lately.
Yeah.
Boys. Mm-hmm. And it's odd because they're, I think, the second best team in terms of goals against, right? So it's just a really impressive performance. I agree. And, you know, the third period, Tampa Bay was pressing a little bit, but through those first 2 periods, it was all Jets. And I thought in that first period, Andrei Vasilevsky was the only reason the Jets didn't have a goal or two on the board, right? You remember Alex Iafallo had a couple good chances.
Mm-hmm.
The Scheifele line was generating a lot of offense. I really liked the Scheifele line tonight. And, I mean, to me, this was the leaders of this team stepping up in the absence of, like we talked about, 4 of the top 6 defensemen out of the lineup. And that's obviously something we're going to talk about because, you know, based on game day skate, Dave M was there, of course, at Canada Life Center. And based on game day skate, Dave, it looked like Logan Stanley and Luke Schenn were going to play. And then we only found out, an hour or 2 before the game, courtesy of you and others in the media, that Stanley and Schenn weren't going to be able to play. And then all of a sudden, Ville Heinola is on your top pair and playing top power play, right? And he looked good out there. So,
yeah.
You know, Scheifele and Connor led the way. You got contributions from other lines, right? Barron, Koepke, Pearson, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that line, I know Kevin Sawyer was talking about it a lot in the broadcast, calling it one of the better fourth lines in the league. And I'm not sure if we're calling that the fourth line or the third line, but regardless of what we're calling it, that line was really impressive tonight, right? Because not only did Barron get the goal, but they had a really good scoring chance right before that in the second period, right, Dave?
Yeah.
You know, so Koepke is a guy that we continue to talk about, a pending free agent that we think should be brought back for next year. And he probably, well, I shouldn't say probably, but I mean, if he continues to play like this, you got to think Jets GM Kevin Cheveldayoff's going to want to re-sign Koepke. So I was really impressed with the veterans of this team and the defense, because look, you're putting in guys like Isaac Phillips and Hayden Fleury into elevated positions, and they played well against one of the best offenses in the league, right? So all around, I agree with Drew. This is one of the more impressive games by the Jets. Yeah. And yes, they're still going to have to win a lot more games on this homestand, to get back into the playoff race. But, you know, so far so good. 2-0 in the first 2 games of this homestand.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, I mean, that's 5 straight games with points, right? 3-0 and 2. So, I mean, they are accumulating what they need to do. They do need a few more wins, as Gabriel Velarde said to us today. They do have to kind of run the table. And I know that folks will get mad that we're talking about playoffs, but I mean, again, we're just having some fun here, and everyone knows what our position or what our thoughts are in terms of how difficult that task is. But we're just talking about what's the result of this game.
Until they're mathematically eliminated.
That's right. Exactly.
Come on.
So, I mean, I think it's just like I said, it was an interesting sort of run up to the game. We didn't know. We asked, I think it was Mike McIntyre who asked Scott Arneal after our morning media availability as to whether they were planning any roster management decisions. And he qualified his comment. He said, he said, the lineup you're seeing is the one I expect, but there could be some moves eventually. And then sure enough, I checked the old NHL media site, Ezzy, and Isaac Phillips was on the roster. I said, well, there you go. That's at least one move that we're anticipating. And then it was
nobody scours that NHL media site like Dave M. Drew. Like,
that is true.
Like Dave,
that is true.
No, you can't pull, you have to get up very early in the morning to beat Dave M on that NHL media site.
Well,
Exactly.
It's worth noting. So let's talk about the fact that Stanley and Shen were scratched. It's worth noting. Go ahead.
Well, where are you? Are you already going into this? I'll let you get into it. I just want to finish the thought, and then you can
finish your thought, and then I'll mention what the report out of Buffalo is at this point.
Yeah, that's fine. So anyway, so then it was just a function of whether it was going to be one or both. Now the anticipation, as he was, that there's a good chance that Ville Heinola would get into the lineup because what's the purpose of playing Stanley and Shen if those are essentially your 2 assets that you could deal? And so, and I know Drew's going to get into where they're potentially going. It was a little awkward though because Logan Stanley was sitting just over to our right in the press box. So,
hey, Logan, have you been traded yet?
Well, nope. he was on his phone while we were up in the press box. So, I mean, you did wonder if he was getting
I got Jarmo Kekalainen's number. Should I text Jarmo and see if
Drew, little humble brag there, Drew, but
pretty big flex on the postgame show tonight.
Yeah, there you go, guys. Every now and then I got a little something up my sleeve for you boys.
But anyway, so it was just we knew that there was a good chance, and then sure enough, when warm-up started, neither Shen nor Stanley were on the ice, and Phillips and Heinola were. So good on them, and it was interesting, right, boys? Because we weren't certain what was going to happen in terms of who would get the power play opportunity, and sure enough, they gave it to Heinola. Anyways, Drew, I'll let you. We did see this. I think this was in the second period when this kind of started to filter through to those of the scribes up in the press box.
Exactly. So this is a report coming from Chad Dominicis. He is the host of the Expected Buffalo podcast, and he is reporting, or he has reported, that he's not sure if it's going to get finalized tonight or announced, but he believes. His reports are that the Sabres are closing in on acquiring Logan Stanley, and Chad also believes that Luke Shen could be also part of that deal. So absolutely nothing confirmed as of yet, and if/when on this post-game show, if any news does officially come out, you'll hear about it first. But Chad Dominicis is reporting that Buffalo might be the destination for both Logan Stanley and Luke Shen. So
boys, what Buffalo's trying to do is they're trying to build Colton Parayko in the aggregate, right? That's what they're trying to do here. They're trying to acquire multiple defensemen, and who might equal Colton Parayko, who, for those who don't know, he didn't waive his no move clause. It was reported that there was a trade in place.
Yes, it just required him to waive his no move, and he wouldn't do it, which is his prerogative. Don't have no move clause.
Well, for sure. No, it's his prerogative. It's very rare, though. I mean, how often is it? Because it generally doesn't become public in that regard. So,
right.
I think I'm not saying it's rare in the sense that it never happens, but I'm saying it's rare in the sense that it became public, which you almost wonder if it's trying to force
now. So far this trade deadline, because Tyler Myers was, he was expected to go to Detroit, and he, it seemed that now it never came out as sort of officially as the Parayko one did it with St. Louis and Buffalo,
right? But
Tyler Myers seemed to indicate that he wasn't interested in going to Detroit, and that's how he ended up in Dallas instead, because he used that no move clause. These general managers hand it out, like candy, and then they're surprised every now and then when it can come back and bite them in the behind.
It's worth noting just quickly. I realize that this isn't a Tyler Myers Dallas Stars show, but it should be noted that it was reported that Tyler Myers wanted to stay closer to the West Coast for family reasons.
Sure.
So obviously Dallas is closer to BC than Detroit. So that might factor in, but it goes into, what we've talked about. Like Colton Parayko has only played for one NHL team, right? Like he's been a St. Louis Blue his entire career. And it goes to, what Dan Robertson and Kevin Sawyer were talking about on the broadcast, interviewing, it was Dylan DeMello, and then who else did they interviewed Cole Koepke in the second intermission, talking about the trade deadline, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the human element to all of this, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just about, for Parayko, it's not just, I'm going to go to a team that's going to be in the playoffs. Well, first of all, Parayko has a Stanley Cup ring, so he's not necessarily thinking the same as a player maybe in their early 30s who doesn't have a Stanley Cup, for example. Right, so Dave you guys are absolutely right. I mean, players, there's a reason why there are no move clauses included in contracts, right? Like it's not just, fantasy. It's not for imagination purposes, right? So unfortunately for Buffalo, they didn't get Parayko, but it looks like they're about to get a couple ex-Jets.
Well, and just before Drew, you kick it in, but Ezzy, the other thing also with Parayko, and this isn't St. Louis Blues lunch or anything like that, but what's interesting is that I saw a friend, Andy Strickland, wrote that he's only 23 games away from becoming the all-time games leader for defensemen, passing Bear Jackman. So, I mean, it's a bit of a milestone to have that sort of.
Did you just give us St. Louis Blues minutia on the Illegal Curve post-game show?
I did.
Is that what that just was Blues-related minutia?
It was more like Strickland straw, if you will, but I was, using it. I mean, I credited him. I didn't pretend like it was my information, but I just thought it was, and he's, I think it was Bernie Federico. He was the all-time. I think he was only 170 games away. So you never know if that plays a factor in, because as he says, he's won the cup and he probably is very comfortable in St. Louis. So it's probably was going to take something to get him to move to a different team. But let's focus on the Jets and the Sabres.
Well, so what I was going to say, as he made a point about the human element, and I mean, that's what's, I think, almost as impressive of, regarding the Jets' performance tonight, is with all the uncertainty and all the question marks swirling about this team and who's going to be in the dressing room come 2:00 tomorrow and who's no longer going to be a member of this team, for the Jets to have really isolated the noise and removed it from the equation, and then they go out and, I mean, frankly, I thought at times they were bullying the Tampa Bay Lightning in tonight's game. It speaks a lot. I've talked about it here on the post-game show and throughout the season, talked about not letting the rot seep in, not letting, this has obviously been a disappointing year, but not letting it permeate so much that it's hard to extricate it from the locker room for years to come or for next season as well. Tonight was an example of still, I think, the pride and that this team holds within that dressing room and how they wanted to demonstrate it. They had every opportunity to roll over tonight and blame it on the impending trade deadline like the Maple Leafs did in New York against the Rangers tonight, which we can get to a little bit later on. But the Jets didn't take that opportunity. Instead, they went toe-to-toe with the Lightning and punched them in the jaw repeatedly and walked away with a 4-1 victory where they were the better of the two teams. That, to me, is emblematic of how impressive tonight's victory is. Here's Scott Arniel.
That third period and how you bottle that and take it forward. Does that game look like a more 60-minute type of effort that looked like the third?
Yeah, that was probably one of our most complete this year. Just sort of period to period. We didn't get, any real long situations where Tampa got momentum. There was some times at the start of the third, but at the end of the day, we did a lot of really good things. We won a lot of puck battles, played fast, played north as quick as we possibly could, and then I really liked the way we attacked. Got inside, attacked their net, had bodies around their net, lots of second opportunities, and something we didn't do down in Tampa. We didn't get inside like we did today.
You mentioned attacking, holding that lead. It wasn't a lead that you guys looked like you were going to try and sit on. You were going to kind of try and cram it down their throat. Is that a little bit more of the style that you've been looking for from this team throughout the year in holding leads?
Yeah, that's part of what we talked about coming out of the break, the stuff we worked on in those 7 days of practice about, playing forward instead of sitting back and letting teams like that are so offensively dangerous come at you. And I just thought our pressure, that we were really good with our 5-man units, of whether it was defending in our end or whether that was attacking in the neutral zone or that was that forecheck. And our D got up the ice. They were a part of the rush. They were a part of the offense. Then vice versa, the forwards did a really good job of pouring back and having numbers with for our defense, so they could make the plays that they need to make.
And you talked about team speed. Team looked fast, like on them at all points. What does it take to get? I know it's foot speed's part of it, but what does it take to get a team playing as fast as your team did as a collective unit tonight?
Yeah, again, like I said about that break, the Olympic break there. The emphasis on, we're not holding on to pucks and skating with it and then looking to see, is there something open? How fast our D are moving it to the forwards, putting it in their hands, and how fast our forwards are making the next play. And it's just, we're trying to get from our end of the rink to the other end of the rink as fast as possible, so that the other team can't get their structure in place. They can't get numbers over top of us. We got a lot of odd man looks tonight because we did that. We played fast and got above them, and they got on the wrong side of us, and that's what you're trying to do. And it was really good tonight.
Scott, we've seen this across the NHL, other guys sitting out for potential trades or being traded. The guys have come out after the game and said they need to kind of regroup. We heard a little bit about that in the dressing room. What is that mood change when, you understand it's a business, but you also, have two friends, teammates that are sitting out potentially leaving?
Yeah, it's a really tough situation, and I talked to the team beforehand. You're sitting out two guys that are, have been, teammates for, the last few years, and it's hard. There's relationships there. Those guys, they have family. It's easy for, people to just say, "I'll trade that guy, trade this guy, move this guy in." Move it. Well, there's some human aspect to it, of family and kids and all those things, friendships. It's very hard on everybody. And so for us, kind of right before the game, we haven't really had that. I thought our veteran guys handled it really well and helped push everybody else kind of along, and went out and did their business. And at the end of the day, it is a hard time. It's something different for me. It's new for me in the NHL. Like, this is kind of sort of been brought on here in the last, I don't know if it happened last year a little bit, but it really happening this year. So it is one of those new things that's kind of happening. It's not a lot of fun.
Well, and on that note, I mean, it's part of the business, but you have guys saying all the right things, right? We got to keep going, keep pushing. Does reality kind of set in that you're a seller, and do you have to have another talk kind of after the trade deadline tomorrow, if indeed it goes that way?
Well, can't really. Nothing's been done, so I can't really comment too much on it. But at the end of the day, we're still chasing a playoff spot, and that's what I've tried to just kind of keep those guys their focus on. This is a hard distraction that's right in front of us, but the focus is, we talked about this eight-game homestand. Well, we're 2 for 2, and we're talking about, we got to hope that some things happen, or didn't look like on the scoreboard tonight that it's been working in our favor from other teams losing, but we need stuff to happen. We got to take care of our business. And so I've tried to really kind of stay on that. If we can stay focused, there's a lot happening outside noise, but for us, it's try to stay focused on what we can control, and that's trying to get 2 points each night.
Some guys got to be part of tonight's win that have helped in ways, but maybe not on the score sheet. Nyquist would be the obvious example, but Tanner Pearson makes some big plays for goals, Kepke, etc. Just from a team building, trying to get something going perspective, how good is it to see these guys getting paid for their efforts?
And that's the big thing, is that for us to have success, that, like I said, coming out of the break, that it wasn't going to be each night. It wasn't going to be 10 or 11, 12 guys. It was going to need to be 20 guys. It was going to be our 4 lines doing what they did in the third period the other night, doing what they did for 3 periods tonight. It's that defense, whoever that may be. It's coming in and giving us minutes and playing to your best of your abilities, because, like we've said and what I've said to them, this is our playoffs. It started the other day, and it's when we got back from the break. This is our playoff. We have to play playoff hockey, and that's usually everybody stepping up and playing a role. And maybe sometimes it's doing some things that are, like you said, different guys are stepping up and doing things at key times, and that's what it takes. If we're gonna, we're trying to make a run at this, and that's the only way we can do it. We can't just have one line going and 4 or 5 others, and it has to be everybody for us to have success. Built in behind great goaltending, which we got again tonight.
3 of your defensemen wouldn't have been on your opening night lineup, and Fleury's been hurt for much of the season as well. So, what have you liked about what they were able to give you tonight?
Yeah, kudos to them. They, everybody was getting it. I know you guys kind of get old to hear me say it, but opportunity's been presented. There's an opportunity for you to play in a hockey game, an NHL hockey game or another game, get more ice time, play big minutes. It's theirs for you to take advantage of, and I love the fact that all those guys did that tonight. And I thought all 6 of them, found a way to contribute in different ways, and that was against that team, that Tampa team. That was a really impressive effort by our back end.
And last one, Scott. Mark Scheifele said he probably doesn't remember the last time he cheered that loud when Nyquist scored.
Yeah.
Knowing what he's gone through this year,
Yeah.
what's it like to see him?
Yeah,
find
that
the back
was,
of the net?
our whole bench was so excited, as were the coaches. You just see the pain that he's been going through trying to score and trying to get on the sheet and wanting to be a part of it, and to finally see that big smile, and obviously it was a huge goal in the game, but just to see him get it finally, it's great. Everybody's pretty excited for him. Thanks.
There he goes, Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel joining us tonight live from the Matt Frost Media Center, courtesy of our photographer, videographer extraordinaire, Colby Spence, doing yeoman's work from down at the arena. Scott Arniel, you could see he's a pleased Winnipeg Jets head coach, as he should be, given tonight's result, and just how the Jets played. I don't know how many people would have expected that the Winnipeg Jets would be able to be in a position where they control the vast majority of a 60-minute contest against the Tampa Bay Lightning. They win at 4-1 at the end of the final score at the end of the game, and even a 4-1 score sort of flatters Tampa Bay, given how just in control the Jets were for the majority of this game. Even when Tampa fights back and makes it to 2-1, what do the Jets do? They don't question themselves. They don't start to doubt themselves. That, to me, after you give up that early third period goal where it gets cut in half, and it's a bit of a fluky goal, but the Jets just go out there, and for very few times this year have they been able to just sort of choke out an opponent like we've seen them do for the last couple of years. We saw that tonight by the Jets, and they deserve kudos for doing so in the manner that they did.
Yeah, I think you make a lot of good points, Drew. This is there was every reason to believe heading into this game, even with Stanley and Shen in the lineup, boys, that this was a mismatch on paper, right? I've watched Tampa Bay probably more than most teams in the Eastern Conference, and I would absolutely say, and I'm not just talking about record-wise, I'm saying just watching them play and how much of a complete team they are, right? We've talked about, everybody knows all the dangerous weapons they have, Kucherov, Point, Gensel, the names go on and on, but defensively, Vasilevsky right now, you'd have to say is a front runner for the Vezina. At the very least, he's penciled in by most people as a finalist for the Vezina right now, right? So they're really one of the more complete teams. That's why I think most people right now would say probably Colorado, Dallas, Tampa Bay, Carolina. Those are kind of your top 4 teams, right? And you could throw others in there. And we know that once the playoffs come around, guys like teams like Edmonton always elevate their games, right? With their big guns. But you're right, Drew. I mean, this was the manner in which they won this game was, I think, the most impressive because a lot of the elements of tonight's game were similar to last year's team. The pressure, that's what I like. The forechecking pressure that they put on Tampa Bay, right? And Scott Arniel talked about it this morning, right? In his pregame presser, he talked about how they had to move the puck quickly out of their own zone. They had to make sure that they were on the right side of the puck. All of those things that coaches like to talk about. And for the most part, there was that 2-on-0. It was a very short 2-on-0 between Kucherov and Point, and Hellebuck stopped Point. Yeah. Aside from that, though, I mean, the Jets weren't giving up a lot of odd man rushes. They stayed out of the penalty box for the most part, and they just executed a game plan. And I really can't say enough about how impressive, Ville Heinola was, Ilya Salomonshin, I should say, and I don't know if you guys checked the ice time, but Hayden Fleury led all defensemen in ice time on the Jets.
As we expected, 23 minutes and 58 seconds.
23 minutes and 58 seconds. Hayden Fleury. I'll repeat. Hayden Fleury led all Jets defensemen in ice time tonight. He had 2 shots, 2 blocks, and 5 hits. And he played well. And, you're going up against, like we talked about, some of these big guns of Tampa. So overall, a super impressive victory by the Jets. And yeah, I mean, are the Jets making the playoffs? Most likely they're not making the playoffs. But at the very least, the 13, 14, 15,000 people, I don't know what the attendance was. Maybe you guys know the attendance.
I think it was like 13-4.
13-4,
there you go. The 13,500 people that were at that game got treated to a very impressive performance. Like Drew said, you've got a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like are the Maple Leafs on the golf course already? Yeah. Like they've obviously, completely mailed it in. I mean,
they've lost so the Maple Leafs, again, not that we care what they're doing. It's like, this is just more of about a comparing and contrasting performances by 2 teams that have been disappointing this year. So both teams have, the Jets, since the Olympic break ended, have earned a point in all 5 of their games, right? I believe I'm correct when I say that. They lost a couple in overtime.
No, you're right. It's 3-0-2.
Right. The Maple Leafs have played 6 games since the Olympic break. They've lost all 6 of them. Tonight, they went into New York to play the Rangers. Who are terrible. The Rangers beat the Maple Leafs 6-2. That was the first Rangers home victory since November 24th. And the Maple Leafs just absolutely rolled over. So on one hand, again,
yeah, but you're forgetting to mention the most noteworthy thing about the New York Rangers in the past week. It's that Matt Rempe attended a bar mitzvah in New York.
Oh, I missed that piece of information.
You see that, Dave?
I did not.
Yeah, Google Matt Rempe bar mitzvah in New York. It's pretty funny.
I'll be as soon as the show's over.
You might do it while the show's going on, Dave. Let's be perfectly
honest. That's why I'm hoping we get Ty Bauer. I'm letting the behind the scenes slip. We're trying to get Ty Bauer on the show. It's a Ty Bauer bobblehead game on Sunday. We're trying to get him on. He's obviously good buddies with Matt Rempe. So I want to ask Ty if we have a chance. Maybe you can ask him, Dave, if we can't get him on. But anyways, I just thought I'd get that funny.
Wait, you want me to? Do you want me to ask him if he's planning on going to any bar mitzvahs?
I'm confused what exactly you're supposed to be asking Ty Bauer about Matt Rempe attending a bar mitzvah.
I was going to ask him if he plans on attending any bar mitzvahs in Winnipeg. That was going to be my question.
All right.
I think the odds of us getting that interview are dwindling by the second that you keep speaking there, Ginsburg.
Well, Tico Napoli says do it, so we're all good.
In any event, that's just what I wanted to compare and contrast and talk about the pride that the Winnipeg Jets showed when another team in a very similar disappointing season fashion rolled over and didn't show anywhere near the same level of pride and give a damn factor, to be perfectly honest, Dave.
I think it's a good point. And like, remember, Seattle's not this juggernaut team that the Jets are trying to chase down. I mean, they're 7 points back of Seattle. I mean, that is a lot with not a lot of games left, but it'll make it a little bit more interesting if they can go on this run. So, I mean, like, that's all that you can ask for, right? I mean, again, I know that fans want the McKenna more than they want.
Don't say it, Dave.
The 8th playoff spot in the Western Conference.
You're gonna say that. You're gonna say that ethical tank. I knew you were gonna say it.
No, actually, no. I wasn't going for ethical tank today, but I maybe I was thinking about it in the back of my mind. But no, I just think like it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But this was a very impressive game. Tampa is on a slide, but they're still a very good hockey team. And Vasilevsky was really good. I mean, he did make a number of really nice saves, especially in that first period.
Well, let's talk.
I will say before we go. Okay, well, the only thing I was going to add though is it's funny how the game did get exciting because at one point, 5 minutes into the second period, shots were 8-8, and I'm like, oh god, this is going to be just like that.
And Jake Gensel had half of those 8 shots.
So let's talk about. We'll get into the nitty gritty details now here on the Illegal Curve post-game show.
The Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap, the whole post-game show, all of our Illegal Curve broadcasts are brought to you by our friends at Play Now until April 17th. earn a $5 bonus bet for each Jets power play goal when you've placed a qualifying same game parlay bet on a Jets regular season game. Conditions apply. Bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. To your point there, the first period, the Jets were by far the better of the two teams in the opening 20 minutes. If it wasn't for Andrei Vasilevsky and some of his efforts, the Jets would have had a lead after 20 minutes. High danger chances of 5-on-5 for the Jets through 20 minutes. And there's been games this year where the Jets don't have this many high danger chances. They had 7 in the first 20 minutes of the game, according to the good folks at Natural Stat Trick. And so the Jets came out playing the right way. A Tampa Bay Lightning team that is in the midst of sort of some not quite mid-season, but let's call it 3/4 mark of the season doldrums. They'd come into tonight's game having lost 3 in a row, including on Tuesday night to the Minnesota Wild. What version of them were you going to get? Well, the Jets put out the best version of themselves, regardless of what Tampa Bay was going to do. And if it wasn't for Vasilevsky, as we mentioned, that's the only reason why it's still a 0-0 game after 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree with you, Drew, that, this wasn't necessarily Tampa Bay playing poorly. I think this was just the Jets playing that well. And you're right. In the first period from puck drop, they were solid, right? There was that shift, the Scheifele line where Iafallo had 2 really good scoring chances. Vasilevsky stood tall. And he was the only reason why that game was scoreless. The Jets were faster. They were putting more pressure on Tampa Bay. They controlled the middle of the ice. Everything that you want to see. We talked about it, like zone entry, zone exits. Like, it looked like a very fluid Jets team, as opposed to what we saw against the Hawks. And that's what I think makes this win even more impressive, is that the Jets were lucky to beat Chicago, guys, right? Like, that game could have gone the other way easily. They could have lost that game in regulation, right?
Well, the final 2 minutes, and they were losing.
Exactly. So for 58 minutes of that game, they were pretty terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And for tonight, it was the opposite. Tonight, this was, that cliche 60-minute effort, right, Dave, where the Jets played connected. They played the right way, all of those things. It was just a very efficient game. That's the word I would use. Like, they were, and look, I think, what they were probably saying in the dressing room was, look, we don't have Shen and Stanley. We're already without Morrissey and Pionk, and not to mention Nemesnikov and Niederreiter. Like, you're talking about 6 regulars out of your lineup, like 6 guys that have been in your lineup for most of the season, right? And I think what they were saying is, like, we still have to win this game if we want to stay somewhat in this playoff race, even though we've all agreed that the playoff chances are very slim. Right? Yeah. Like Scott Arniel said, these guys, especially with a veteran group like this, they're going to still be going out there and trying to win every game, right, Dave? So I think they elevated their game after, like I said, a pretty terrible performance in Chicago, where they were probably against Chicago, where they were lucky to get the win.
Well, the playoff odds are up to 9.6% after tonight's victory. So.
Yeah, from 6.7 to 9.6.
Yeah, well, so we're getting closer, right? Like, I think as soon as we get to around 20 to 25%, then all of a sudden it's not looking like so much of a joke
5 straight
anymore.
more wins, Ezzy. But
well, look, hey, we talked about we talked
Schedule's
about
not difficult.
We talked about the schedule. Look, Vancouver is, for those who play Monopoly, Vancouver is pass, go and collect $200. They're beating Vancouver, right? Like, Vancouver is. I mean, they're not. I don't even know if we want to call them Vancouver.
I think we want to call them the average Canucks. Leave the predictions to me.
I will.
But you're right. This game and the Colorado game were the hardest 2 games on the homestand.
Well, and the only thing I was going to add,
it's not even close. Anaheim will be tough. Anaheim's playing some good hockey.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing I wanted to add to what Ezzy was saying was that was essentially what Scott Arniel wanted from his group. And I mean, I know he said it when we listened to his media availability from the Matt Frost, but he talked about, you're not beating Tampa unless you're playing connected hockey. And so that's what Ezzy called it, right? And you need, he said, like, he was talking, Kelly Moore asked him about Radish, and he said, well, listen, these guys play like this is a 20-man team. Like, this is not, you're not worried about one guy beating you, although Kucherov could probably beat you alone, but this is not.
Kucherov was pretty regular tonight. Like,
he had a couple of chances.
I would almost call him pedestrian, Dave.
Yeah, interesting. But I would say
tonight he's still going to be a Hart Trophy finalist. Don't get me wrong, but tonight I just thought he was okay. but I just didn't think that was like peak Kucherov. That
No.
Not by a long shot.
No, you're absolutely right. As he was not. He was. I mean, look, there may be a slight malaise that's impacting the Tampa Bay Lightning right now, and
I think they're just at the point there. The Lightning. Every good team goes through it. That you go through a little bit of a stretch. You go through a bad week or a bad 10 days when you've already basically clinched your playoff spot, where you just don't really want to play the games anymore. And I think the Jets are catching Tampa Bay in that time.
Sure.
Which, to the Jets' credit, though, they still have to play the game to take advantage of Tampa Bay not clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's a good point there, Drew. But I just think that this is a team that, they played a real good collective group game. Can they keep this rolling? Well, we'll see. And you could see the guys, like I said, we spoke to Gabriel Velarde after the morning skate, and you can just see he's pissed off. Like, he's not happy with his play. And it's funny because Arneal was essentially saying, like, that's Gabe being Gabe. He's just hard on himself. And like, we'll look at a game and I'll be like, yeah, you played pretty well. And he'll be like, I played like crap. Like, he's just he's just he's just hard on himself.
Ehlers-esque in that way.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's just an interesting sort of situation, but like I said, it was an impressive way for this team because, especially with it being 0-0 after 20, you're not really certain which way it's going to go. But Drew, why don't you tell people how it went in that second period?
Well, so a lot of the second period, to your point there, Dave, thanks for teeing me up on that one. There wasn't a lot going on either end of the ice, which is probably fine from the Winnipeg Jets perspective. And then the last 5 minutes of the second period, they really took control. And it starts with a Morgan Barron goal with 4.5 minutes to go at the 15:31 mark, to be exact. Morgan Barron, his 9th of the year, assist to Cole Koepke, assist to Tanner Pearson. I've liked that trio over the last number of games that they've been together. They've been very effective. I think this is the best. This is probably the best that all three of them have looked. Tanner Pearson seems to have found a home with Koepke and with Barron as well. The part about this goal that I like the most is, first of all, it starts with a defensive zone face-off and then a puck battle victory. So it's not an offensive zone draw. It's a defensive zone face-off. And then Tanner Pearson, he outmuscles J.J. Moser, and that is really where the Jets are able to jump on the puck. So it's Pearson and Moser are battling, and then Cole Koepke, is on his horse, and he comes in and he picks up a puck, and all of a sudden it's a bit of a 3-on-2 that turns into a 2-on-1 with Koepke and Barron. And the other defenseman who's now back, as Pearson and Moser are basically battling with each other, the other defenseman who's back there is Darren Radish. And Darren Radish has had a tremendous year for the Tampa Bay Lightning out of basically nowhere with his off. And did he have a hat trick against the Jets in that game in Tampa Bay earlier, maybe a couple months ago?
I don't know if he had a hat trick, but he for sure, I remember at least one.
It wasn't that long ago, Drew. The game was I think that was this was game 61. I think that was game 53, if I recall correctly.
Radish had he was on for both of the first two goals.
Right. So, but so I'm saying, he's had a great year. Yeah. So it's now a 2-on-1 with Koepke and Barron. And, it's a deliberate shot pass by Koepke. He shoots for the rebound, knowing that Barron is coming downhill. And that's exactly what happens. It's a textbook shot to the far pad of Andrei Vasilevsky, with the rebound coming right out onto the stick of Morgan Barron for the one-timer. Textbook play by the Winnipeg Jets, but love the effort and the fact that it starts with a defensive zone victory. That's what we're talking about with the Jets being on their, have a drink, everybody, attention to details, and it pays off on the first goal for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm going to let Ezzy get into the goal, but I will tell you that I think Adam Lowry's been listening to the show because he dropped attention to detail 2 or 3 times today in his media availability, Ezzy. So maybe he's been listening to Drew.
Flag on the play, timeout. Frank Saravelli confirming that report from earlier by Chad Dominicis. The Jets are sending both Logan Stanley and Luke Shen to the Sabres. It's a package deal for both defensemen. We don't yet know the return, but that does sound like it is just pending the trade call. So that is going to happen imminently by the sounds of it. Hopefully, while we're still here on the air for the post-game show, we will find out the return that the Winnipeg Jets are going to get from the Buffalo Sabres, as both Frank Saravelli and Chad Dominicis, and Chad has had the initial report Logan Stanley and Luke Schenn both heading to upstate New York to become members of the Buffalo Sabres. Oh, by the by, the Buffalo Sabres are tied with the Tampa Bay Lightning for top spot in the Atlantic Division now, although the Lightning still have 2 games in hand.
Yeah, well, and that's even more impressive why how well the Jets played tonight, right? Because Tampa Bay doesn't necessarily have first place locked up, right?
No, not by a long shot.
Buffalo's look, and again, it'll be interesting to see what comes back. I'm almost sure there's going to be at least 1 draft pick, if not 2 draft picks. Maybe there's a young defensive prospect coming back. Maybe the Jets, that's what their ask was. We're not quite sure. I'm sure, Drew will let everybody know momentarily. Frank Saravelli or one of the other insiders is probably going to have some information before the postgame show's over. Boys, I feel like we need some like breaking news music or something. We have some, we have some sounds like, I don't know. We have the gong. We have the drum roll. I don't know if like a siren, like a trade siren. Do we want that?
I don't think we. Okay, there you go. It's a good siren. That's good
That's
work
a good
right
one.
there.
Okay, so we'll go with the trade siren. When Drew has some more breaking news, I'll pull out the trade siren. But yeah, look, like, and good for Logan Stanley and Luke Schenn, right? Because I mean, clearly, the Jets are a long shot to miss the playoffs and to make the playoffs, I should say, and they're going to a team that's surely going to the playoffs, right, Dave? So good for Stanley and Schenn. That Buffalo team is going to be exciting to watch in the playoffs, right? Like this is not a team that's just squeaking in. Drew just mentioned they can finish first in the Atlantic Division. So again, we'll hopefully find out what the Jets are getting back for Stanley and Schenn. But
yeah, can they do this so I can update the post already? I'm trying to, let's go. Tut.
Yeah, well, I'm looking. I'm Googling. I'm refreshing. I'm looking for.
I'm getting the tweets out here, Drew. I'm trying to get it all out so people.
I thought Drew, you were looking up 1918 maps of Winnipeg on your other screen. I wasn't.
No, I was already told. So again, for those of you wondering what the hell as he's talking about, I
don't think anybody's wondering. Everybody saw your tweets.
Isn't that what people are always wondering? What I'm talking about?
Why would they use them? I mean, again. That's fine. I was wrong. It was a map. It was an old map of Winnipeg from 116 years ago or something. Why that was the map that TSN decided to use behind Craig Button, I will not understand. But wrong is wrong, and I will I will absolutely wear the goat horns when I'm incorrect with one of my comments. But I did not anticipate them going deep into the archives of Manitoba to find the map to use behind Craig Button on the broadcast.
Well, like I said, Drew, Dave is the geography major from the University of Manitoba, so I think we should have left all of the topography to Dave M. You like that one, Dave? But
I do.
I'll admit, Drew, I'll back you up here. First of all, when Craig does his hits, he's usually in his home. Just like when he comes on a legal curve, he doesn't do it from the same location, but he's usually at home. So this was clearly a green screen. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's in Toronto for Trade Center coverage.
That would be what I would assume as well.
And obviously Craig didn't pick that map, but obviously, somebody's a history buff. Maybe it's something to do with them liking the Winnipeg General Strike, which I believe was 1920.
So what Doug's asking, didn't I read the street names? And of course I read the street names. So of course I'm familiar with Taché Avenue, but there were a number of intersections that don't currently exist. And that's why I was confused. That's where my confusion stood, is that a number of the streets went all the way to the Red River, that they don't currently go to the Red River. So it did not occur to me that they were using a map from 116 years ago on a broadcast in 2026. So yes, that's why I was so unsure, because I recognize a lot of those street names as places I've been to and know and are familiar with, but other streets that don't exist in those locations anymore. That is where my confusion stemmed from. There you go. That's the making of the sausage in the Mindell head for all those that were wondering what things I think about on a regular basis while watching the Jets broadcasts.
Do we know what the Buffalo Sabres are giving up for Stanley or Schenn?
Not yet. No, that still hasn't come out. I mean, that's the problem. That's the one thing we're still waiting on. I'll see if we can find out that information somehow. But in any event, let's move on to the second goal by the Winnipeg Jets. It comes with 18 seconds to go in that second period. Mark Scheifele, his 29th. from Alex Iafallo and Kyle Connor. And again, this goal is just the result of the Winnipeg Jets outworking the Tampa Bay Lightning, I thought. Just being more willing to go to some of the hard areas and just winning puck battles. Again, this is a nothing play. It starts in the Jets zone. The Lightning are in control. Radish has the puck at the offensive blue line for the Winnipeg Jets, and Alex Iafallo just is hard on Darren Radish. And I don't know if Radish panicked. I don't know if the puck just bounced off his stick, but whatever it was, it turns into a turnover. So it's now Kyle Connor and Alex Iafallo, and the two defensemen that are back for the Lightning are Radish and JJ Moser again. And then there's a forward trailing the play. And it's not just some run-of-the-mill forward. It's a guy who's generally got a pretty good reputation for defensive responsibility. Oh, it's Braden Point. So really, it's a 2-on-3 with Connor and Iafallo against Braden Point, Darren Radish, and JJ Moser. Then Scheifele jumps up in the play. And now it's almost a 1-on-3 because Iafallo and Scheifele are still trailing the play. It's Connor, and there's 3 Lightning players around him. And Kyle Connor just wins the battle. And then he finds Alex Iafallo as the trailer, and then Scheifele goes to his sort of soft spot to where he can tee up a one-timer from the face-off dot. And Iafallo puts it right on his stick, and Scheifele makes no mistake on this in this instance. But it's just the Jets winning battles and Tampa Bay not being hard enough to play, on their efforts, and the Jets taking advantage of it. It's nothing flashy. It's nice passing play and looks nice. But if you go back and you look at the details of it, Dave, it really is just all about the Winnipeg Jets being harder on the puck than the Tampa Bay Lightning were.
If you think I have any idea what you're talking about right now,
here, throw it to me. Clearly Dave's working on something for the website. Right?
Then mute it. Mute yourself, and I won't throw it to you.
No, I thought you were going to throw it to me because I could see. I think Dave's sausage fingers are working on a little post for the illegalcurve.com website. So obviously things are happening. Logan Stanley and Luke Schenn are being traded. Dave M has got to pump out some content for us. So
I may have already had it written. I may have already had it written. I just had to add some details, flesh it out a bit. Right. But we're good.
You're banging out content as we speak, Dave. You're a multitasker. But you're right, Drew. I mean, it starts with a turnover at the Jets blue line by Alex Iafallo, and Kyle Connor, like you said, wins a race. And what I really like is that Iafallo follows up the play. And he has the ability, like what I liked was the quick decision-making by Iafallo there, because Connor, like we said, wins the puck battle with Braden Point on him. And Alex Iafallo, he could have shot. He could have gone back to Kyle Connor, who was to the right of him. But what he does is he just goes right to, because he can see that Mark Scheifele, who's probably the best player along with Connor on the Jets at getting open quickly. And he sees that Scheifele to the right of Vasilevsky is pretty wide open, and he gets it to him quickly. And Vasilevsky has no chance because he's going the other way, right? Like he's just you can see like he's has absolutely no chance because he has to respect Iafallo potentially being a shot. Plus he has Connor to his left, who's obviously a big sniper. But Iafallo makes the quick right decision by going to Scheifele, and that was a huge goal, right, guys? Because we always talk about it. Getting a late goal that puts you up two or three as opposed to just being up a goal is huge. And it really kind of it's almost like an extra punch in the gut to the opposing team because, they were hoping to get out of that second. Like, as we talked about, if the Lightning were able to get out of that second period just down 1-0, that would have been a huge win for them on the road. But good on the Jets. And like you said, this wasn't, one of the prettier goals, but it was just well executed. And that word that I keep mentioning is that they were playing a very connected type of hockey where guys were executing plays and guys were creating turnovers and turning, good defensive plays into transition offense. Right. So a really impressive goal there. I was really impressed by Iafallo again tonight. I mean, you forget that, Iafallo is a guy that, most people would have penciled in as a third or fourth line guy to start the season. And every time he's been up there on the first line, he's played well. I mean, he's obviously had some bad games like all the Jets have this year. Most Jets have this year. But yeah, I thought IFL was really impressive on this play because, like Drew said, it starts in his own zone with a turnover, and then he follows it up with just a nice decision, making that pass over to Scheifele, Dave.
Ezzy, I think the key was that I don't want I took credit for the Jets almost winning 5-1 tonight. I think Alex Iafallo heard you throw his name into the mix for guys who could potentially be on the move, and he's like, I got to be better. As he's mentioning,
I just want to clarify.
I got to be better.
No. But I just want to clarify. I'm a big Iafallo guy. You guys,
no, I know. I'm just joking.
I wasn't advocating for him to be traded. My question to Murat was just: is he a guy that other teams could have interest in?
That's for sure. I know,
and I think other teams do. Like I like again. It's not like after the trade deadline's over, I call Chevy and I'm like, so Chevy, who are all the teams that you talked to today? Like, he's never going to take my phone call or get rid of the restraining order.
I don't even want to take your phone call, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody talks on the phone anymore. When I call people, I love talking on the phone. Dave is actually one of the few people I talk to on the phone.
Yeah,
but
I'm a talker.
Yeah, like most times you call someone, they're like, well, why didn't you just text me?
Yeah, if somebody's calling me, I'm concerned that something's gone very wrong.
Someone's dead. Like, who died?
Sometimes I like to hear that voice, Drew, in my ear.
Well, and the only thing I would add now,
my voice is kind of shrill.
Now that we listen to it a lot, but the one thing I was going to add though, which I can't really say a lot, but is the fact that now that I know which goal you were talking about, Drew, it's just a very classic Mark Scheifele though. At that point, that spot on the ice, Ezzy, and just seeing him like raise his arms like this, like it was a
quintessential Scheifele goal.
That's the word I was going to use. It's a very quintessential type of Mark Scheifele goal. So his 29th of the season. I mean, he's going to hit 30 again for his career, not for his career, for the season. And
is Scheif going to hit 100 points, Dave?
Well, another 2-point game tonight. We'll see if he can keep things rolling. He and Kyle Connor. I mean, I'm sure Drew's going to mention. Are you going to mention the quote, Drew, later or no?
The Scheifele quote?
Yeah,
I am.
Okay, all right. So I'll wait. We'll save that for. We'll wait because we haven't got to that point in the game anyway. So we'll wait for that. But I mean, I just feel like you're right, as I think he took that Team Canada snub hard, and that he's going to want to achieve something, especially if it's individual, fine, it is what it is. But nobody in the 15-year history of this Winnipeg Jets franchise has gotten to 100 points, right? So Kyle Connor's come close. Blake Wheeler came close. We'll see if Mark Scheifele or Kyle Connor can get there.
For the record, still no word on the return coming from Buffalo for Logan Stanley and Luke Shen. So that is the sort of the big piece of the trade. Of course, the trade not yet official, but that is the big piece that we were waiting on in terms of what the return is. So as soon as we get that, and we'll try and stay with you for a while still here tonight to see when we can come up with that piece of information.
We're not going to bed till we know.
Well, I don't know if we're going to go that far, Dave. We'll see. We'll see is all I'm going to say. Anyways, 2-0 after 40 minutes for the Winnipeg Jets. A very good game through the first 40 minutes for the Jets, especially the last 5 or so minutes of that second period. Third period starts, and the Tampa Bay push that you would expect comes, and it comes pretty early in that period. It forces Sal Monson to take a high sticking penalty. That comes at the minute 45 mark of the third period. It takes the Lightning all of 7 seconds to score on the power play. It's Braden Point, his 15th assist to Gensel and Darren Radish. And we mentioned it before. It's a fortuitous bounce. It's the shot by Radish, goes wide, hits the end boards, and comes out all the way. I'm not even sure why Gensel. I guess Gensel gets an assist on it.
I think it deflected.
It must have deflected, just glanced off
the Radish shot.
The end boards. Yeah, because he doesn't like. When you watch the replay of it, Gensel looks like he misses it more than anything. But it goes off the dasher, it goes off the end boards, and right back through about 2 pairs of skates. So it goes through Sandberg's skates, and it also goes through Gensel's skates right onto the stick of Braden Point, who's in the slot all alone. It's a great seam pass. You don't typically see a seam pass off the end boards and through a bunch of skates, but you did in this case. And as a result, Braden Point is able to get his 15th goal of the season, wiring it past Connor Hellebuyck. No chance for the Jets goalie. No. Good bounce for the Lightning. And all of a sudden, it's a 2-1 lead less than 2 minutes into the third period, Ezzy.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed this, like mentioning the assist, but when they originally put the graphic up, it was weird. I could have been completely hallucinating, but it said Braden Point from Grashev. Like it's almost like they combined Gensel and Radish. And like you'd have to go back. I didn't take a picture of it or screenshot it or anything like that. Maybe somebody else will back me up here, but it said Grashev. Like they obviously made a mistake because that player doesn't exist.
I think the Jets might be acquiring him from Buffalo.
Yeah, it's possible. But yeah, like you said, Darren Radish has had an incredible season. What does he have? 19, 20 goals for the Lightning this year, undrafted, right? Brother of Taylor Radish. Like he's been a great. By the way, I was going to ask you,
Member of
do
the
you like
all-food team.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you like radishes? Are you like a guy that'll put a radish in a salad?
Drew definitely likes a radish.
I actually, I'm on team radish. I like them. They're healthy.
They're bitter though.
I like them. I like bitter.
I remember going to a restaurant.
Like I'm not like bitter like Drew is, Dave, but I like bitter food. You know?
Man, old man Mandel's about to like wax poetic about his radish fetish here.
I'm about to take you a journey down memory lane. I remember years ago, before we had kids, Laura and I were in Minneapolis for a long weekend. I don't know what we were doing. I don't know if we were seeing a concert or we went to Minneapolis.
Probably making love.
God help us. Talk about things that are bitter. That would definitely be that. But we went to it was because farm to table was all the rage back then, and so we went to a farm to table restaurant.
Oh my God, this is my worst nightmare. It's a Drew foodie story. God.
And I remember they served radishes with some sort of like special infused butter or something, and the radishes had been grown on the roof of the building that the restaurant was in, and I mean that was a decent radish. I mean, but it's not a typical vegetable that I go to all the time.
See, yeah, I just
well done, Ezzy.
I just thought, look, Dave. When I see
my fault, he set me up for that.
I see an opportunity to talk about something that I think is important for the chat. I'm going to go into it. So yes, I'm on team radish as well. Not Darren Radish, but eating physical, literal radishes is something.
Malpris says he thinks that Logan Stanley is the radish of a salad.
I like it. The radish is not a vegetable to be, I think, taken lightly. I think it deserves its place in a salad. But yeah, on this particular play, look, it's a fortuitous bounce, guys. Like, what else are we going to say? Like Drew said, it comes 7 seconds into the power play, and it's a bounce that goes through Dylan Sandberg's legs, right? And you can see after they scored, like he's like, well, what am I supposed to do? It just goes right through my legs to Braden Point, who's literally in the exact spot that you want to be in, right in the slot, right? So no chance for Hellebuck. And yeah, obviously at that point, the Lightning got back in the game.
Well, and the only thing I would add, not to analyze the goal because as he just did it, and so did you, Drew, but I was going to say the only thing that I find interesting is that as good as Tampa is, one of their areas that isn't exemplary is their power play. Their power play is only 13th overall. So, and again, they had a lot of injuries. So, I mean, that probably threw off the rhythm but it's surprising given the level of talent on that team that they only have the 13th ranked power play coming into tonight's game.
So
yeah, I would agree with that.
Tampa's now cut the lead in half as we all, as I mentioned. And now I think we should sort of take a deep breath, all of us, and maybe, take a minute to just remember where we're going to be when the next monumental play of this game happened, because it's going to be something we'll probably tell our kids about. I mean, I almost woke my kids up to tell them about it. Ezzy, I'm not sure, if your kids were awake or what they were doing, if you gathered around the TV so that they could watch this. It's like, our generation's version of the moon landing. Gus Nyquist.
It's funny.
Getting his first goal of the season, finally, at the 5:34 mark. And we'll always remember where we were when we saw it happen. It very well might be his last game that he plays as a member of the Winnipeg Jets. He's definitely been on, for whatever reason, inexplicable reason, been on some of the trade bait boards, might find himself a member of a different team as of 2:00 Central Time tomorrow. But we'll always have this goal. Gus Nyquist, his first assist to Jonathan Taves, and assist to Tanner Pearson. And I think we should just take a second to bask in it, that I can say his name along with the word goal, and not goalless, but goal. And that's what gave the Jets their 2-goal lead back. And Gus Nyquist, good for him, finally, waiting a long, long time for it to happen, getting that first goal as a member of the Winnipeg Jets. I'm tearing up a little bit, getting a little emotional about it.
Take it easy, Drew.
I know.
We're waiting almost as long to get a chance to get in here as
Yeah,
it took for him to score a goal. It took Gus Nyquist 40 games to score, and it took Drew 10 minutes to get through that little preamble there.
Yeah, I know. I'm just also appreciating the fact that people are still talking about radishes in the chat. Thank you, chat, for continuing that in that discourse. But yeah, look, first of all, Tanner Pearson, his first multi-point game of the season, I believe, 2 assists for Tanner Pearson. And we're talking about the shot by Gus Nyquist. I'll get into it in a second because it's a really nice shot. And Vasilevsky clearly was moving the other way, and he goes glove side, top corner. But Tanner Pearson, Pontus Holmberg, former member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, he just gets in on him and takes the puck and creates the turnover. And then with one hand, gets it to Jonathan Taves along the boards. And then Taves feeds Nyquist for a really nice shot like we talked about. Vasilevsky's kind of going left to right, and Nyquist puts it top corner, right? So I really like Tanner Pearson's game. And again, guys, if Pearson played like this for the majority of the season, I would say, keep him and maybe even sign him to another contract, because I agree with Drew. And we talked about, Kevin Sawyer was talking about it on the broadcast. This fourth line or third line or 3A, 3B, whatever we're calling this line, it's been really effective. And Tanner Pearson, he just kind of wills this goal into existence, right? By creating that turnover.
Just working hard.
Yes, Nyquist, exactly. Nyquist deserves a lot of credit, and it's great for him, right? Because, he's clearly, at the end of his career. Maybe he plays one more year in the NHL. I'm not sure. But he's
trying to get to 1,000.
Well, yeah, it's clearly one of his last years in the NHL, and he's had a great career, right? We talked about it with Detroit, has a lot of points. He's going to go down as, in Sweden, certainly he's going to go down as, everyone knows Gus Nyquist. He's had a great career, 900 plus games, right? So it's just great to see him get his first of the year.
By the way, Tanner Pearson had a multi-point game for the Jets.
Against the Islanders, right?
Against the Islanders.
1-1?
1 goal, 1 assist back on October 13th when the Jets had that. I believe that was a Monday afternoon victory.
Yeah.
I think we were driving back from Wisconsin.
You're exactly right. We were on our way back from our weekend.
And Drew was driving, and he had a massive pice of cheese in his mouth the entire way home.
And by the way, I looked it up for the chat. I'll be honest, I looked it up. I didn't know that it was 1-1. I was fact checking Ezzy, and then I thought he had a 2-goal game. I thought he had the back-to-back empty net. That was an empty net goal. I think he had back-to-back games with empty net goals.
He did score the next game against the Philadelphia Flyers. No, he had a goal against the Flyers as well the next day or the next game. So,
but I mean, the only thing I'm going to add to this though is you're right. I mean, we heard it from Scott Arniel. You could hear it even in the goal celebration on the broadcast. Just how the excitement. Obviously, the fans were happy, and even Dan Robertson's call. You could hear the excitement from Dan Robertson about Gus Nyquist getting his first. So I mean, look,
again, the human nature of it all. It makes
Well, to go half a season, I know it's been more than half a season because this is game 61, but he's played in 40 games, so almost half a season for him, right, Ezzy? Yeah. And he gets his first. So, I mean, there's a lot of pride with a guy like that, and we know that his career most likely is done, at least here in Winnipeg after this season. But, again, like I said, it's a nice story for a guy to finally get that monkey off his back.
3-1 at that point. Great response by the Jets after the Lightning tied it. And that to me is sort of the most important part of the third period, is the response that the Jets demonstrated after Tampa came within a goal of tying the game. Just the Jets took over that third period, and they didn't let Tampa Bay get any closer than that. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Well, no, that was the only thing I wanted to add really, was the fact that the Jets, I mean, remember, it's 2-0 and you give up a goal early in that third period. It's easy to see this team kind of go, okay, wilt a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you're right. It was a little bit last year-esque, if you will, that the team was kind of like, oh, no, we're good. We got this. And like you said, I mean, the Nyquist scoring probably even gives them a further boost, but I just like the kind of the way they handled it. They didn't kind of sag, and then they came out and they kept playing, and of course get rewarded with that 3-1 goal.
Yeah, so 3-1 at that point in time. The Jets do score a fourth goal, but it's called back because Mark Scheifele is a little bit ahead of the play, unnecessarily so, I would say. I think Scheifele himself realized the error of his ways, because this is what he said. So the
pretty funny comment.
So Kyle Connor scores. The Lightning challenge for offside. It is offside. So the goal is taken off the board, but the Jets end up getting Kyle Connor his goal. It's into an empty net a number of minutes later. It's Connor's 28th assist to Scheifele, assist to Alex Iafallo. And this is the quote that Mark Scheifele said to post-game, quote, "There was no chance I was shooting another puck the rest of the game. I was going to do everything in my power to get him being Kyle Connor, that goal back because I was so mad at myself for going offside and getting that goal taken off the board." So that's what Scheifele had to say post-game, which is pretty funny. That's Scheifele, not known for as Mr. Personality necessarily. Again, it just probably goes to show you how good the vibes were in the Jets dressing room after the game tonight. In that Scheifele is cracking some one-liners. He'll be up on stage at Rumors this weekend, and everyone else just feeling good about themselves with that 4-1 victory, and Kyle Connor getting that goal into the empty net after having the other one taken off the board. Just look, the Winnipeg Jets outworked the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight.
Yes,
and that's something.
They were the better team, and it wasn't close. And like we said, even before the game, when we thought Stanley and Schenn were going to be in the lineup, this was a mismatch. Just by the very nature of where Tampa Bay's in the standings and the fact that the Jets don't have Morrissey and Pionk at their disposal, not to mention some other players, right? Nemesnikov, Niederreiter. So, yeah, the Jets elevated their game. I think this is like, this gets thrown around a lot, guys, but I think this shows the fortitude of this group, right? Like, we're not going to get too excited. The Jets, there's a very good chance this Jets team is not making the playoffs this year. But for tonight, based on under the circumstances with, some players that are about to be traded and some guys that are in the lineup in elevated roles, namely Hayden Fleury playing on the top pair, right? Like, and that's only his second game back from injury, right, Dave? So just overall, I can't say enough, good things about tonight's game. Regardless if the Jets end up coming back and making the playoffs, tonight was an impressive game.
Well, I don't think at any point in time this season, if you had said to a Jets fan, Ville Heinola is going to be your number one option on the power play, on the back end for the power play. Oh, and you're going to beat the Lightning 4-1. I don't think anybody would have taken those two things together and said that this is a realistic occurrence. And
Dave can back this up. Heinola looked completely comfortable out there, but I don't think Dave is surprised, because having watched the Moose, almost all the Moose games, or all of the Moose games, Heinola does that for the Moose. So, right, Dave? So it's not like you're not asking a guy to do something that he's not comfortable with.
No, absolutely. I mean, he's a power play QB for the Manitoba Moose. So, I mean, it's again, look, he was on PP2 with the Jets. It's not like they were like just throwing him in cold. He just had a better 4-man unit in front of him than on PP2. That's basically what it comes down to. But yeah, I did think he played. I mean, he didn't play a ton of, what did he play? 13 minutes in the game, something along those lines. I know the third pairing of Phillips and Heinola didn't play very much, but I think it was like 12 and 13.
I think it was around 13 minutes, Dave.
Yeah. So, I mean, he didn't play a ton, which is probably good, again, in the sense that he was fresh. And I mean, look, the guy is, one of the words that Scott Arniel used when he was talking about Logan Stanley today was he was given an opportunity because of the injury to Dylan Sandberg early in the season, because of the injury to Josh Morrissey. I mean, let's be realistic, guys. We've been covering Logan Stanley. We were at the, Ezzy and I were at the Buffalo draft in 2016 when Stanley got selected with the, was it 18th overall pick?
I don't think I've ever, 18th overall. I don't think I've ever felt shorter in my life.
Yeah. So we were at that draft back then. We've been covering him for a long time. If you ever would have told me that Logan Stanley would be QBing PP1 for the Winnipeg Jets, I don't know that I would have believed you. So, I mean, look, he got the opportunity. Arniel feels that he went with it and ran with it. Shooting percentage probably a little bit higher than, I think it's 10% higher than it was last year. Last year he was at 2%. This year he's at 12%. But I mean, yeah, he took advantage of the opportunity. He's going to get paid as a result, whether it's with the Buffalo Sabres or, I mean, we don't know if there's an extension or anything like that that's going to be dealt with here. So that's, always obviously a question mark if he sticks with the Sabres. I mean, what a good team to be going to in terms of opportunity there, right? Because they are such a good young team and they're on the rise. Clearly, Marty Biron, we know, a popular guest on this show, will be happy. But I just think that it's just one of those things that a guy gets a chance. So now Ville Heinola is probably going to get a run because Colin Miller, we learned today, he had a setback. I mean, something we forgot to mention, of course, on the outset of the show. But Colin Miller had a setback. He's back to week. Scott O'Neill said we're going to check back probably in about a week's time where we'll get our next update on Miller. So he's not coming back anytime soon. And
sorry, go ahead, finish your
no, I
thoughts.
was just going to say, so you've got no Miller, you
Mhm.
don't have Shen, you don't have Stanley. So right now, guys like Ville Heinola, we expect Josh Morrissey to return on Saturday. We'll get a better indication. The Jets are having an optional practice tomorrow at 12, so we'll find out a little bit more there. But Ville Heinola, for whatever it's worth, even if he doesn't get dealt and he ends up going back down to the Moose for the playoffs, and that will be good for the Moose. But even if he doesn't get dealt, he's going to be able to set himself on a path to, when he's a UFA come July, sign with the team, I suspect, and earn himself some looks and a longer leash in the NHL next year.
So the clock has struck 11 p.m. Central Time, which means it is 12 midnight Eastern Time. So here's a heads up for you, courtesy of our friends at Wheatland Hockey. As of now, this exact minute, the league's 23-man roster limit officially disappeared. So that was effective at midnight Eastern. The 23-man roster limit is now gone for the rest of the season, which means that some trades that may have been waiting until midnight Eastern to be officially consummated can now be consummated. So I know we're all waiting for the return on Stanley and Shen, and there's been a lot of other things that have been talked about. There may be some trades coming in over the next few minutes because the 23-man roster limit is no longer a factor. So that is our Wheatland Hockey heads up hockey play of the game, play of the night, call it whatever you like. Wheatland Hockey is building skills, character, and excellence on and off the ice. A fresh approach to youth hockey and development, a program for absolutely everybody. Check them out online, wheatlandhockey.ca.
Just
When
to-
we
I-
come-
Sorry,
Sure,
just
go
want
ahead,
to
Isaac.
get a quick minor hockey note in. I am a little bit concerned if Luke Shen is being traded, because I don't know if a lot of people know that. I don't know if you guys know this, but I know this because I work at Hockey Manitoba and I have access to our coaching network. But Luke Shen coaches his son. I don't know if you knew this, Dave.
I did
But
not.
Luke Shen coaches his son out of River Heights Community Center. So I am a little bit worried about Luke Shen's son's hockey team. If he's traded, who's going to coach his team?
I think you're next man up. You used to coach hockey briefly.
I have coached hockey, yes.
Yeah, well, you're next man up. I think it's time that
All right.
they go to the bullpen, and yes, you don't have an ACL, and yes, skating isn't
Or
sort
a back.
your
Don't forget a
strong suit. Hey, Ken Hitchcock was a hell of a coach. You could be the Ken Hitchcock of Winnipeg minor hockey. You don't look like a coach necessarily, but neither did he, and he won Stanley Cup, at least back in the day.
Hey,
So
Drew, don't look like a coach. Wow.
Ouch.
Yikes.
Maybe, yikes. Drew, that burn was so bad. I forgot what you
That
what
hurt.
it was. What was the Wheatland Hockey? The expanded roster. So the only thing I was going to add, sorry,
Yeah.
you knocked me off my thought. Your shot across the bow at Ezzy, but the only thing I was going to add for the folks who are listening is two things. Number one, you still have to remain cap compliant. So you cannot exceed the salary cap for once the 23-man roster. So you can't have a 30-man roster, a 40-man roster, because you still have to require. You are still required, to be cap compliant. The other thing worth noting, as of tomorrow at 3:00 Eastern, 2:00 Central, is you will be limited to 5 recalls. So, and the other last thing I will say, because there's a new rule as part of the CBA, is that when you assign guys down to the AHL, what used to be known as a paper transaction. So the rule,
I know what you're going to say.
Drew, I know. That's my whole point. I know that the rule. I know what the rule is. I'm going to explain that both the rule and the amendment to the rule.
Children, get along.
Well, I mean, Drew
Just
thinks he's
wanted
this.
you to make sure. I just wanted to
Check
make
out
sure.
check out the big brain on Brad. I don't think so, there, bud. Please, come on. Don't think you're giving me AHL information there, Mindell. What I was going to say before I was so rudely interrupted, Ezzy, was that normally this year, if you send a guy down to the AHL in a transaction, he has to play a game before you can recall him to the NHL. It can't just be a paper transaction. So they're trying to circumvent the any sort of shenanigans. Ironically, it really didn't work because the Oilers sent Andrew Mangiapane down to the Bakersfield and he played one shift of the first period, didn't play another shift in the period.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, so that's what happened. So the rule is that on trade deadline day, if you make that move, for example, if the Jets send Salamonson, Walker Dewar, and Ville Heinola down to the Moose. So those three will be eligible for the Calder Cup playoffs. In theory, they'd have to play the game against the Marlies. But the rule is because it's trade deadline day, they can just paper them, and it's effectively like they played that one game.
All hail Dave M. He got it 100% right, and I was too eager.
All hail the king.
All hail King Dave.
You were hoping you had me on that one.
A little bit of hoping, but yeah, I should have known better.
By the way, Drew, I don't know if I still can't. None of the insiders. I still don't know what the return is. So I keep refreshing like Elliott and Dregs and LeBrun and Chris Johnston.
Have any of those guys even talked about it as yet, or no?
No,
Frank.
Well,
just Sarah Valley. Yeah,
Frank is the only one who I've seen say anything about it so far.
Is Frank an outsider right now? Like, what's going on? The insiders.
Well, we continue to wait to see if we know what the return
we'll
is going to be.
On this show until we find out.
Drew. We need to know. The chat needs to know who the Jets are getting.
Well, I think what the important thing to do is to go to break so that we can at least pay some bills. And then while we're waiting to see what the return is, we'll come back with our latest installment of what did Patrick Allvin announce? Because there's been a lot of announcements coming out of Vancouver. So we need to do our latest installment of our new favorite segment, my new favorite segment.
At the very least. Not ours. It might not be
what
an hour
has
thing.
Canucks
more of a
general
Minute
manager
guy,
Patrick Allvin announced. So much more to come. We'll hopefully get the return. Shen, Stanley, they're heading to Buffalo by all accounts. Nothing official just yet, but what is official is that the Winnipeg Jets have won tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning by a 4-1 margin. Don't go anywhere. Plenty more of the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now still to come on Thursday night.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca. For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
Hey Winnipeg, Joe Carter here. I look forward to joining you in Winnipeg on June 4th for the Ray D. JCC Ken Cronson Sports Dinner. See you in June. Don't be late.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you, talking about the Jets and the Tampa Bay Lightning, trying to get a return on the Shen and Stanley deal. Nothing coming out on that front.
I've been told it's not Tage Thompson, Drew.
Not Tage Thompson. What about Alex Tuck? Is it Alex Tuck?
No, it's not Alex Tuck, and it's not Rasmus Dahlin either.
Okay. Owen Power, though. I thought, is it Owen Power?
No, it's not Owen Power.
Okay, fair enough. So it's not a lot of. It's not one of the best players on the Buffalo Sabres, believe it or not. I thought it was going to be, but here we are, disappointed. Worth noting, again, the Vancouver Canucks, they're going to be in Winnipeg on Saturday. Connor Garland will not be with them. Elliot Friedman reporting 2 minutes ago, Connor Garland is heading to the Columbus Blue Jackets, where old friend Rick Bowness has completely turned around the Blue Jackets season, really and incredible. Now has them 1 point out of the wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. So, I mean, you love to see good things happen to good people. Rick Bowness definitely qualifies as a good person, and now he's getting some reinforcements as that Blue Jackets push for the playoffs, acquiring Connor Garland from the Vancouver Canucks. Not sure what it looks like. It's a second and a third round pick is the return, according to Frank Saravelli. So obviously more, Connor Garland for a second and a third round pick, and his 6-year contract extension doesn't kick in until July 1st. I guess the Blue Jackets are making a bet on Garland getting out of Vancouver and returning to a better form. I would make that bet on almost anybody that plays for the Canucks, given how big of a tire fire that entire organization is. The best part of that news, of course, though, is that it's going to mean that general manager Patrick Alvin is going to make an announcement, and that is my new favorite thing of all time. Let's go back.
By the way, Drew, did anybody take you up on your offer?
Nobody said anything yet. So the offer again, for those.
Yeah, let's get it out there again, because we want to see that on Saturday.
I'll mention it. So again, I meant this offer after the Tuesday game between the Jets and the Blackhawks when we were going through our new favorite segment here. Anybody that comes to the Canucks Jets game on Saturday, and if they come with a sign that says General Manager Patrick Alvin announces, or general manager Patrick Alvin says, and then watch the Illegal Curve post-game show, or watch Illegal Curve hockey, anything along those lines. So a sign, get it on the broadcast, or have Dave get Colby Spence, our photographer, videographer, to snap a photo of it. Bring that sign to the Saturday night Jets Canucks game. General manager Patrick Alvin announces, fill in the blank, something to do with Illegal Curve. I'm going to make a donation. I'm going to make a donation to the True North Youth Foundation. I'm also going to make a donation to the Canucks for Kids Fund. So we'll raise a little bit of money. I'm having some fun.
You make a donation to the Ginsburg Foundation as well.
As soon as you become a registered charity and I get a tax receipt for that, Ezzy, I'll be glad to support, but only with the tax receipt, of course, involved. So if you bring that sign to Saturday night's game, let's maybe raise a little bit of money for the two good foundations that the Jets have and that the Canucks have. I know I'm poking a little bit of fun at the Canucks and their social media and general manager Patrick Alvin, but I figure if we can raise a little bit of money for it, it might be all the more worthwhile in that case.
I was going to add, because I mentioned in one of our posts on our Instagram account, I said because this is the conversation we were having is, and I'll throw it to the chat as well. I said final morning skate here in Winnipeg before the trade deadline as the Jets get ready to face a juggernaut. Well, I wrote a juggernaut Lightning squad, but I was obviously wrong. For how many guys will this be their last morning skate in a Jets jersey? The current IC line was set at 3.5. So I wrote 1, 2, 3, or 4 plus. So I want the chat to vote. But so far, 46% think it will be 2, which would be confirmed if this trade goes through. Mm-hmm. And then 30% think it'll be 3, but not many, Drew. Only 11% said 4 or more, and 13% thought 1. So the vast majority.
Even Dave with Tanner Pearson having a multi-point game the night before the trade deadline.
Well,
yeah. Well, remember this was done. This was mostly done in the morning until just recently. So
And if you believe the trade bait boards, Tanner Pearson's name has not appeared on any of the trade bait boards for whatever that's worth. And the player who's appeared the most from the Winnipeg Jets,
man who got a goal,
the guy who got a goal tonight is Gus Nyquist, which is, again, insane to think about.
It's insane. It's insane. And I don't like to rip on Chris Johnson because he's a good dude, but like Chris.
I mean, and again,
you could have reached out. We would have helped you with that board.
Honestly, I don't think it's impossible. I mean, we've seen stranger things. Maybe somebody only watches the one game he played tonight and say, "Hey, he's got his goal scoring touchback."
Maybe Detroit brings him back. That's where it all started.
There was nobody in the press box today. None. I don't know where the.
Well, that's because all the meetings, they've already done their pro scouting.
Thanks, Drew. I understand that. I'm just saying that but it was even absent Jets folks. Like they were, I suspect, all holed up in one spot, probably in the boardroom in the True North office.
They're actually all at Chevy's house. They're sleeping over at his house tonight.
Yeah, it's like sleep over. Bring your PJs.
Right. In any event, General Manager Patrick.
By the way, PJs, which to tie it back into tonight's game, I believe were officially banned by the Tampa Bay airport.
You can't wear your pajamas to the airport?
Well, apparently they had like a spoof thing, but it was literally the Tampa Bay airport. Apparently, they said they were going to war with people who wore Crocs to the airport, and then I just saw, I think it was yesterday, that they don't want people wearing pajamas. Now, it was a joke; they didn't really care, but it was. I was just trying to tie it all in. You said PJs, Tampa Bay, kind of all worked. No, doesn't work. Well, why don't I tell you about 2025 seventh rounder Jacob Kluche, who scored in a comeback win for the Saginaw Spirit?
I think you should do that. That would be better than anything you were just rambling on about.
Actually, I will talk about Owen Martinez, because the 2025 third rounder from nearby Oakbank, Manitoba, who is having a very slow season with the Spokane Chiefs, who were kind of a middling team. They made some trades, got rid of some of their better players. So Owen Martin had a real slow start, but he just went on a crazy hot streak, was named the WHL Player of the Month, or of the Week, to end February. He had a 16-point run in 6 games for Spokane, coincided with a 6-game win streak for the Chiefs, 7 goals and 9 assists for Martin. So he's been on a nice little run after. He's a good little player. I kind of like watching him play. I watched a little bit of his game yesterday against Kelowna. You want to speak about feeling old, though, Ezzy. I'm watching all these players, Caleb Malhotra or Tija Ginla. Like, it's just depressing watching all these guys we watched, 20 years ago. Now their kids are in junior. But Owen Martin, he's been having a nice little surge in his season in the WHL.
Good update there. This is one thing I want to talk about quickly before we wrap up, because we're clearly have gone very long with tonight's post-game show. This comment from Paul Wisty 8880. Yeah. Why don't we take some cap dump for
Great
some
idea.
picks? And what he's basically asking is, the Jets have a lot of cap space.
13 million?
Something like that. Why not, as the expression goes, weaponize that cap space and earn, take a bad contract on, if it's even for, obviously not a bad contract that's going to hamstring, that's going to hurt you for years to come.
No, it's a
use some of that bad cap space and acquire an asset in return for it, like a draft pick. And I agree with you that, if you're not going to use your cap space on players, and there's no reason for the Jets to be acquiring players, to help the team right now, use some of that cap space, to, take on somebody else's problem contract and get a draft pick, restock your cupboard that way.
AKA the Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah, well, that's what allows the Coyotes to go out and trade 3 second-round picks for Mackenzie Weegar, and I'm pretty sure they still have 17 second-round picks left over because they've been doing that for so many years at this point in time. So I agree with Paul that is should be an avenue of opportunity for the Winnipeg Jets. It's not one that they've typically used in the past, but it is something that I would certainly think that the Winnipeg Jets should be exploring the possibility thereof, as we are now, what are we? Let me see, midnight, 12, 14, about 15 hours ahead of the 15 hours ahead of the trade deadline, which will come tomorrow at 2:00. So that's where that's just a thought. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, no, I would just, I don't know what his thoughts are with respect to that, but I think you absolutely should. Why wouldn't you? I mean, if you can add another couple of draft picks and restock the cupboard that way. And remember, also, you might need players. You don't have any. You've got Niederreiter and Niederreiter is basically done for the majority of the season. Nemestikov is still week to week. So,
right.
Again, you're gonna, and unfortunately for the Jets, and this is, Drew, I guess I could have mentioned this, but when they had, all these injuries, the only guy we're expecting back soon is Morrissey. We don't think Miller or Pionk are going to be back anytime soon, which will necessitate at least 2 of your recalls being defensemen. Well, right. If not more, because Shannon and Stanley are going to be gone. So you're going to need to replace those 2. Plus, you're not going to have Morrissey. So you're going to use a lot of your recalls. You're only allowed 5. And you can, of course, use emergency. But you're going to use them on those forwards. So it may on those defensemen. So maybe there's an area, or you do it via waiver, that you acquire some guys so you don't have to use up all your recalls. Because part of it also is you want to be able to reward some of your players when, your young players, and give them some games. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I'll be very curious to see what happens tomorrow.
Looking at the Buffalo Sabres, because again, we're still waiting on the return and doesn't look like it's coming imminently. So we probably will have to wrap up this post-game show, and we'll just steer you towards illegalcurve.com for when we have the return officially finalized.
Yeah.
But it's worth noting that the Sabres don't actually have a second round pick in 2026. That second round pick that the Sabres had traded it away to the Ottawa Senators as part of the Josh Norris, Dylan Cousins trade. So the Sabres do not have a second round pick in 2026. They do have an extra 4th and an extra 6th this year. Now, obviously, the Jets I think people would be upset if the return for Shen and Stanley is only a 4th or a 6th or anything along those lines.
Well, that's probably why it's going to be that and a prospect. I imagine, guys, it's safe to say that the Jets probably want a defenseman back because
I don't think so. Why? I mean, in terms of where you are, in terms of your next wave of players.
You're not replacing Logan Stanley if you're not getting a defenseman back.
Yeah, but I don't think you're worried about. You'll use Hayden Fleury and Ville Heinola for the rest of the season. I don't think you need.
No, I'm not talking about necessarily just this year. I'm talking about the Jets. He's a first round pick. They've developed him. Okay, well, we'll see. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised. Why would you be surprised?
I would think if you want a prospect, you're looking for a forward prospect more than a D prospect from the Jets' perspective.
Yeah, but why? Okay, but why would you be surprised if it's a defenseman?
Well, just for the exact reason I just said, because I think you're looking for a forward prospect more than a D prospect. I think that's where
both can be true, though. But
yeah, sure, both could be true. But if you have to pick one, that would be where I lean. And obviously, time will tell.
Not necessarily, though, Drew. I mean, you could always. I mean, remember, you don't really have any right shot defensemen who are your prospects. You have Salamonson, who's not really a prospect anymore because he's essentially going to be. So you're not going to take a left shot guy because you got Boumediene and you got Frey. Right. So you're not really working on that. But I mean, you could take for sure. I could see them taking a right shot defenseman.
Okay. I mean, again, time will
I got
tell.
Your back, Ezzy. I got your back. Take that, Drew.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be on the back end. We'll see obviously who it is. We'll see if there's a prospect involved. It could just be draft picks.
Yeah.
And we'll find out.
That's true. But I agree with you that it's not. I don't think it would be just a 4th or a 6th because that would not be a great return.
That would not be enough of a return.
That would be a good return if it was just Shen.
Yeah.
But you're talking about Stanley. So that's why it's either going to be 2 draft picks or either a forward or maybe it's going to be a goaltender.
Yeah. I mean,
I can't see it. No, here's where I'll disagree with Ezzy.
That was a joke.
Yeah. No, I know. I got your back, Ez, and so does the chat. Rob had one. Andrew Haleko, the sometime, what is he again? The CEO of Centratech?
Centratech, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes professor at University of Manitoba, but evidently also CEO of Centratech.
Right. Is it Centratech or Tetra Tech?
I don't know. I didn't watch the Netflix series. As he
I think it's Tetra Tech.
Yeah, Andrew can mention it. He'll update us.
I think Tetra Tech is an actual company in Winnipeg.
And Centratech is the made-up company?
Tetra Tech, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what they do, if they're engineering or something, but I'm pretty sure Tetra Tech is a legitimate Winnipeg company.
Okay, so here's what it says here's what Murat.
Here we go. Thank God. We're going another half an hour.
So this is what Murat is reporting, that he hears the return is 22-year-old forward Isaac Rosen.
Yeah.
Oh, Drew was right.
28-year-old pending UFA left side defenseman Jacob Bryson.
Okay, I was right.
No, left side. You said right side.
No.
I didn't say right side. I just said defenseman.
I added the right side element of it.
And
Hold on, Drew, are we going to go longer? Should I set a tweet to the folks, or what do you want to do here?
No, and I mean, I don't know how much insight we're going to give to any of these guys. So that's the problem.
I don't know much about Isaac
Rosen.
We've been watching the Rochester Americans. We know what's going on.
And a second-round pick. So that is what Murat is hearing.
Okay.
That the return is Isaac Rosen. So let me quickly look up Isaac Rosen on the Buffalo Sabres here.
Mm-hmm.
Where's he playing? Is he playing in Rochester? I don't even know where he's playing.
Yeah, he's in Rochester.
He's in Rochester. Okay, so
well, I mean, he could be up with Buffalo. I have no idea if he's up with Buffalo right now, but I mean, he plays in Rochester.
He's got 43 points in 37 games for Rochester this year.
Well, that would be. I mean, those aren't numbers to sneeze at.
I mean, former first round pick of Buffalo.
Yeah, 5 years ago now. So it's obviously, it's taken him a while if he's going to develop it to an NHL level. He's had a handful of games. He had 17 points. Pardon me, he had 7 points in 16 games for the Sabres this year. 3 goals, 4 assists. I mean, he's a point-a-game player in at the AHL level. Most of his AHL, he's been last year he was 55 points in 61 games. 28 goals at the AHL level, 20 goals at the AHL level, 25 goals this year. The question is, can he?
This information is available on hockeydb.com.
Yes, can he be more? Can he be more than a, than a fringe NHL player? That's really what I guess the question would be that the Jets are banking on. 6 foot, 185 pounds. He's a right winger. He shoots left. Again, like I said, first round pick 5 years ago has never really been able to break through and have a consistent time at the NHL level. Again, that is what, there's no confirmation to that, but Murat is usually pretty dialed in and knows most of what he's talking about. And so that is reportedly what the return is going to be for Luke Schenn and Logan Stanley. And frankly, based on that, plus a second round pick.
A second round pick in 2026?
No, because the Sabres don't have one. So I assume it would be a 2027 second round pick.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
Yeah, not to steal your job. I was going to say Murat doesn't specify if it's 2027 or 2028. So
fine, it could be.
But like Drew said,
it's not.
It's not this year. So
right.
I look. It's an interesting package, right? Like there was a lot of talk. Could Logan Stanley on his own fetch a first rounder? So I think based on this, like Jacob Bryson, as Drew mentioned, like he's a veteran defenseman who also has played. I think he's been kind of in and out of the lineup for Buffalo. He's played 35 games, just checking now. So Jacob Bryson is just kind of gives you more depth. That's why I said a defenseman comes back, so at least you're getting somebody there
who can go in. Yeah,
I think Isaac Rosen, to Drew's point, is the intriguing one because he's been over a point a game in the AHL. He's only 22, so it looks like there's still some room to grow there. So again, is he a guy that factors into the top 6 for the Jets? Probably not. I don't think you can say that, but he's at least a guy that, it's another prospect that's going to get some games, right? Like we're going to see him in the lineup for the Jets, we think, at some point.
I'll take a flyer on not a Philadelphia Flyer.
And it's another member of the Swedish Mafia, Dave.
Well, there you go. But
that's what I was going to add. I was going to say
to acquire a guy who can score at the AHL level and not just, score somewhat. He's 25. Like I said, these are big goal scoring numbers at the AHL level. I think it's a worthwhile gamble to see if he can put that all together at the NHL level. Again, he had 3 goals in 16 games. I think that would put him probably third on the Jets in goal scoring this year at the NHL level. So, I mean, he has small contributions at the NHL level, 7 points in 16 games. If you extrapolate that over an entire season, which of course it's not necessarily that you can do that, that's a 35-point, NHL player. Again, long ways away from actually being that. But if you wanted to acquire a prospect that could be an NHL option for you, obviously for the rest of this year, and then who knows what for years to come,
they'll have control of him, obviously, right? Like
it seems like a worthwhile. Yeah. A worthwhile gamble. From
only thing I'll say, and I'm not going to pretend to know anything about the Rochester Americans because other than when I ask Marty Baron about it when we have him on the show, but I don't cover them because I don't really watch those games because the Moose don't play them. So I can't pretend to have any sort of insight on Rosen, but I will say that I do notice that the Buffalo writers that we follow on the old X machine tend to talk about him. Our friend Bill Hoppy, he's often mentioned talking about Rosen. So we'll first of all have to find out if that's even how you properly pronounce it. But it's big. It's a big news day. We've got it, the legalcurve.com already fired up with the news on website. So head over there if we're calling it a night here.
Rosen is a RFA at season's end. I should also mention that as well. So he's a guy that will still, of course, be under the Jets would be able to control his season. His entry-level contract is coming to an end after this year. So the Jets would be able to, he'd still be under team control for a number of years, assuming that he re-signs with the Winnipeg Jets and the Jets want to re-sign him, as it seems like a reasonable bet to believe so. But there's the return.
And here's a comment from Legendary.
I think it's legendary, Dave.
Thank you. Good return, good solid return. I've seen Rosen play a few games with the Sabres, with Buffalo, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. So there's someone who's got some firsthand information.
Yeah, and I'm sure that he'll get a lot of games with the Jets for the remainder of the season, I would imagine as well, given how thin the Jets are up front, especially if there's additional moves to come over the next, 12 hours, 15 hours, whatever it's going to be. That's, of course, still not official. Here's what Chad Dominicis actually just tweeted out about Rosen. Bummer for the Americans fans, the Rochester Americans fans, to see Rosen leave, but he wasn't getting a chance here being in Buffalo. And Chad says, I don't know if he's a full-time NHL player. It's a fair comment from a guy who's seen him sort of certainly more than we have. Bryson is expected just about a defenseman again. Bryson's an undersized defenseman. I don't really know what he was saying with that comment, so I'm going to skip over it. And then the details about that second round pick are to be determined as well. We'll see what that ends up being as well. But not a bad return for Logan Stanley, young prospect, and a second round pick apparently, plus another prospect for Logan Stanley and Luke Shen. I think most Jets fans will probably take that and say, okay, I can live with that as a return.
Sure.
And it's kind of isn't it addition by subtraction a little bit?
When you're talking about Shen?
Based on how they played tonight, it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think it's a good return.
I think it's a reasonable return as well, based on the initial glance with the details still to come. I think it's pretty good. Okay, it's 11:30 at night. We've been doing almost we also did a Saturday morning length of a post-game show. So we'll wrap it up there. We'll tell everybody that, of course, all the latest news on illegalcurve.com. And if events warrant us jumping back online live, well, the only way to know about that is to turn your notifications on, smash the like button, and, of course, tune in for each and every time we go live here on the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. We'll do it again, of course, at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, teeing you up for the Jets and the Vancouver Canucks. As I said, if events warrant, we'll do it again tomorrow. But for now, we'll say a big thank you to all of our sponsors, our friends at the Rady JCC. The sports dinner is coming up in June with Joe Carter and Cito Gaston. Tickets available, radyjcc.com. Boston Pizza will be there on Tuesday, April the 14th. End of season, last regular season road game. We'll do a watch party there. So come join us at Boston Pizza next month. Wheatland Hockey, City Place, Holt Dental, Play Now, the title sponsors of this show, and of course our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Big thanks to these sponsors. Big thanks to all of you for joining us tonight on an extended edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. All the details, everything about the day still to come on illegalcurve.com. For Dave Minuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I am your host, Drew Mandel. Until Saturday morning, maybe before then, we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.